Now, there is only one reason why artists get hired by companies like video game companies or animation studios, and that is because you're going to make them money. You're going to fit the art style of the project that they're already working on, or you're going to make them money. Usually they have their core team that's defined the art style, and when they're hiring people, they're just looking for manpower, people who can simulate the look that they've already defined. They're usually not scouring the internet looking for an artist's cool and unique art style that they can hire you and put you in as the art director or anything like that. It's a bummer, I know, and I'm not trying to discourage you, but, hear me out. This is just my perspective from having worked in the businesses of comic books and video games for 30 years. And the more you know how this works and why artists get hired, the more you can use that to your advantage when you're tuning your portfolio. Okay, let's talk about this. But before we do that, you're gonna have to subscribe and ring that bell so that you get notifications of all my videos. If you're looking to up your art game, this is the only place to be. I'm the only guy on YouTube making art videos like this. All right, let's talk about why artists get hired. And I would have to say that this is one of the single most difficult hurdles for a pro artist to get over. And there's two possible customers that we're talking about here. There's the collector, there's the person who buys a person's art. Maybe it inspires them, maybe it makes them want to paint. It's the kind of thing that they wish they could paint, but they can't. So they vicariously get a sense of a connection. I mean, this is why I would buy an art book, for example, from like Katsuya Terada or Yoji Shinkawa or Akihiko Yoshida or any of the artists that I would buy an art book from. It's because I admire something about their skill. It's something that I want to look at to become inspired, and that would make me think in new ways of how I might approach art, or look at something as like a bar, a standard, and say, well, I want to do something that's this exciting or enticing or encapsulates this kind of emotion. You're with customers, you're talking about giving them a feeling. And everybody is selfish. Like underneath and behind every, benevolent soul that you've ever met, there is a selfish reason they are doing what they do. Nobody is out there just to give away good feelings. Generally speaking, if you're getting something for free, it's because they want to entice you to subscribe or get clicks, or they want to attach to that part of you that would make you want to come back for more. And so they build a brand that makes you want to buy a poster or want to wear their brand on your clothes or whatever. But ultimately, every single person, regardless of how much we lie to ourselves and tell ourselves, oh, we're just nice people, we do nice things for other people. No, that still makes us feel good. It is ultimately a selfish endeavor. And keep that in mind if you're going to sell artwork, okay? It's that you need to give people a feeling and then keep giving them that feeling, and then they keep coming back to it. And maybe they want to have that drawing, on their own wall or on their clothes or on or trapper keeper or whatever reason. But it's never just because they like it. It's usually because it's something that they want to distinguish themselves or share with other people, that they have unique taste. And so this is why popular things sell and why people tend to buy the brands and popular things that other people are buying, because it says something about themselves. When you buy jewelry, it's because it says something about yourself. When you buy a t-shirt with a Zelda logo on it from 1987, that's because you're wanting to say something about yourself. And I don't want to project to everybody. Maybe you have your own reason. Maybe it's because that shirt was on sale. I don't know. Or you got it from your cousin. Or you have a connection to that IP because it's something you personally relate to. All of those things, though, however, are very different than the reason why a company would hire you as an artist. Okay? A company doesn't care how passionate you are. They don't care if they like your artwork. What the company cares about is whether they can sell your artwork to their customers. And that means that if your artwork stands out and looks different than the style of the brand that they've already promised to their customers, remember the part I was just talking about, they've built that connection with their customer base. Their customer base expects a certain emotion when they get their artwork, when they see their character designs, when they see their environments. Think about it. When you're thinking about a Zelda game, you imagine all these things like, oh, there's adventure, there's, probably an elf-looking guy with long blonde hair, there's probably going to be some like, Zora kind of animal that's wearing cool armor, and missions and stories that you go on where you're discovering cool caves behind waterfalls. All those things are part of that brand. And if you're not creating something that fits within the brand that that company you're applying to is selling to their customers, then you are not going to get a job with them. Now, it needs to be a little bit unique. It needs to be a little original, but ain't nobody going to get hired just because the company likes your artwork or, you know, thinks you're passionate. Those are not reasons why a person gets hired. The reasons why a person gets hired is because you're, one, possibly cheaper than somebody else that they would want to hire that's maybe a bigger name, or you're somebody that can create content within the world that they've already designed, or your product, your style, your brand is in line with what they've already promised to their customers. Those are the only reasons why anybody's going to hire you for your artwork. I can't think of any other reason. Technically, what happens from the perspective of the studio is they do polling, they look at research, their business development team looks across the landscape of what style of games are selling, what type of art they would need for their game that they're going to make. And that's what defines it, by the way. They don't care what their preference is. You know, from a business standpoint, you're supposed to take your emotions out of it entirely. This is why artists and business people fight all the time. And they're so at odds with each other. And some of you might even just be thinking this is disgusting to even think this way, but it is what it freaking is. It's like the business guy looks at it and statistically goes, well, if we do something that's a little bit more in the style of World of Warcraft or Fortnite, we're going to sell more copies than if we do something that's in the art style of something that didn't sell as well, something maybe odd, like it was a valid argument when people said that Monkey Island game changed art styles. It's like you already sold them on one art style and now you're giving them something totally different. And the director of that game should have known better and should have went like, hey, yeah, okay, we hear you. Like, we need to give you what we've promised you before, you know, and I think that's where I would really disagree with the director of that game, because it's like, you've already promised the people this certain style. Don't switch it up on them, you know. Only hire people that can do the style that you know will sell to your customers, that you, especially if you already have a pre-existing customer base, right? And so what I'm trying to say is that what they do is they'll define the art style before they even start to look for people to create content in that art style. And then usually what they've done is they've hired an art director that's already proven to have known or understood how to work in that art style. So for me, like, I constantly get job offers to art direct games that look like the games I've worked on, like World of Warcraft or League of Legends or Overwatch, and I'm starting to lose track of all the games that I've worked on. But they're more stylized. I'm not going to ever get an art director job or even get somebody offering me a job to work on something like a Call of Duty. That's not my expertise or my specialization. And so when you're thinking about this from the artist perspective and you want to get hired, you know, learn how to do the popular styles that you like, you know. So if you like the more of the Fortnite kind of an art style, lean into it, man. Lean into that, you know, if you want to find work. But then, and my recommendation is to find something that you enjoy that is also selling. That's the key. And that's the part that a lot of artists struggle with that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. And now there is ultimately another route though. Like, if you don't want to go that route, if you're like, well, I want to build my own brand and I want to build my own customer base, well, that's a very different way of thinking. You have to go back to the first half of this video that I was talking about. You have to give people that emotion. You have to keep giving them that emotion. You have to keep giving it to them in a way that's surprising and enticing. This is something that, if you look at like Hideo Kojima, like, he consistently offers that to his audience. But for Kojima fans, it's a little bit of a bummer that, you know, he's not doing Metal Gear anymore. People still want more of the same, even though they don't want it to be exactly the same every time. They want to be dazzled in the same way by the same brand. And that's why we've seen some people really don't like Star Wars anymore, because the brand has changed. But when they went to Mandalorian, a lot of those same people who hated it are now back in, because they're like, oh, it's got that Old West vibe, that Old West in space kind of vibe. And that's something that people really wanted that was kind of gone from the series for many years. And so this is what I'm talking about when I talk about brand consistency. And it's very important for you, if you're going to build your own audience for whatever it is, whatever that brand is that you're building. If you're making your own IP, or even if you're just an Instagram artist, you kind of have to do the same thing over and over. Now, if you don't believe me, try to think of an artist that you really like. Now make a list of why you like that artist. What if they stop doing that thing? You know, There's an artist that I used to follow, Shiro Masamune. Quite frankly, you know, if he changed and suddenly he wasn't doing Ghost in the Shell style artwork anymore, cyberpunk, you know, cool spy looking tech, you know, and mechs and stuff, if you just suddenly stopped doing that, I wouldn't be as interested anymore. And I think that that's true if you look at any modern artist. I don't want to, you know, point out anybody in particular, but there's a specific sort of a association that we build with their brand. And if you think about everything that they've been doing, especially if you've latched onto them, you know, then maybe there's a reason. Maybe it's because they keep making that same kind of thing over and over, but in slightly different ways, creative ways, ways that dazzle you, but it still gives you that same thematic vibe. So this is something that we can learn as artists, how to better our craft and how to improve our brand by offering more consistency. It's really hard, by the way, because you get a little trapped. And I guarantee you that those artists that do the really sultry anime characters, for instance, I guarantee you that there are days where they're like, I just want to paint castles, or I want to do something else, but like, this is what sells. This is what people want from me. And if I change it, then I betray my audience, you know, and you can't do that. And so in a way, you kind of, they call that the golden handcuffs. And so if you're going to go your own route and build your own brand, find that thing that you really, really never get tired of drawing and do that. Just get really good at it and never give up, never stop, and never change it too dramatically all at once. You can start to pivot slowly into a new direction, but you kind of got to keep it consistent. Here on my YouTube channel, I'm committed to helping you find a career path in art and live your artistic, creative dreams. That's what I'm here for. So please do not forget to subscribe if you are interested in developing your concept art skills for video games. That's a very specific craft. And I highly recommend you check out some of my workshops where I teach you how I created a lot of the environments that I did for some of the world's best-selling video games over the last 20 years. So check that out at the link below. I'm currently running a sale. You can see it on the screen right now. And I will see you guys in the next video. All right, ciao.